Hi, my name is Alek Ajay Ghosh. I'm here to talk about my mini format system, which is quite modular. And here I have Mamiya RZ. It's basically a 6x7 format film, and kind of wrapped to a 7x7 if needed. So this is the film back, and it goes here, and it's now I have put into a digital back from Phaseone. So this is a 645, almost a 645 kind of a sensor, and this is an adapter which I have used to connect with the digital back, or I can just use this old-fashioned film camera, or to which, yeah. So which can be also rotated, I think, yeah. So it goes like a vertical and a horizontal mode, and you just take it off and put this adapter from Phaseone, and you put the digital back horizontally or like vertically, like that. So basically I would like to talk about the viewfinders. So it's like completely comes off, like this is a waist level finder where you can use this loop over here, so you can focus the image, and there is like this is the focusing screen, which also you can take it up, and it's actually cut into physical size of this sensor. So like you can, it's for vertical and horizontal. You can decide while you shoot, before you actually take the shot, you have a preview of like how it would be in vertical or horizontal, just before you, like as you set up the camera, so you can decide a better judgment. And it accepts this prism finder, which has actually the exposure reading, and this camera doesn't provide an exposure reading unless you have this. So you can see the size of the viewfinder is pretty big compared to other viewfinders out there. It's actually for a 7x7 centimeter finder. Hence I call this more like a 7x7 rather than a 6x7. So here you have like complete with the SLR kind of a mode. So the focusing is with the knob over here, and yeah, that's pretty much. And so basically the shutter is actually inside the lens. So when you wind, you can see what's happening, and when I slowly turn, so you can see it's opening up. Yeah, so basically there's kind of that much of this camera where you can focus here. So all are like bellow focusing, and you can have the lenses listed over here. So that's the actual focusing index for you. Moving on to the next camera, we have a Horseman SWD Pro, and this is a rather interesting camera because most of the reason I switched to this camera for wide angle shots is because the Mamiya RZ is since it's a 6x7 format, and the format I've been shooting in digitally is like a more of a 645, so it doesn't really cover that much wide with these lenses. Hence I don't get wider shots with these cameras. So the maximum wide angle I have for this format is 50 mm. So 50 mm is kind of a not so wide when it comes to a medium format. So it's more like a 35 mm kind of a wide in 35 equivalent. So yeah, that goes like that. And so to go, and the widest lens they have is a 38 mm, which is a fisheye, which defeats my purpose of shooting landscape, which is hugely distorted images. Hence I moved to this camera for wide angle shots, and it's a really nice Rodden stock 35 mm, but which on this sensor it will give me around a focal length of 25 mm, but it doesn't stop there. You can see I have put an external viewfinder here, so you can see the lens and the amount. The lens is so close to the sensor, and it's a true wide angle lens rather than all these lenses which is like retrofocal. You have to, this is kind of a mirrorless in terms, because it's so close to, actually there is no optical compromise in this design, so that's why it gives me better wide angle results. And you can see the viewfinder here. So what I do for shoots is like I just take this same Phaseone sensor and put it over here. Now it's a complete camera, and there may be few cables that I had to attach. And the good feature about it is like I can make it like panoramic shots. I just had to shift the sensor here and there, so it gives me a like one and a two shots together, and I'll have a panoramic image. Or if I want to have a much more wider image, so I just put it into vertical mode. So now it's like a much wider image. So the single horizontal frame should give me around a 25 mm equivalent, and the two frames vertically mounted will give me around like 18 mm, and the lens actually shifts up and down like 17 mm, which is quite great for perspective corrections, most of the architecture scenarios. And they have a very well good spirit level finder, where I could, like, once the spirit level is adjusted, then I have to like I'm quite done with the perspective correction, and I just rearrange my frame with the lens movements, and you're done for the day. So it's like that kind of comfortable shooting, and the form factor is much smaller. So let's move to the next camera, which we have is a large format camera, and yes, it's a Sinar F1. It's majorly for like everything, supposed to be used for everything. That's what its name says, Sinar. SINAR, S for studio, I for industrial, N for nature, A for architecture, and R for repro, which is like a recreation of artworks or museum works, things like that. Yeah. So it accepts 4x5. So here is the, so I have put a mask on a 6x12. Last video I have put using a 6x12 adapter. So I just get rid of this. And here is an adapter for same digital bag I have been using. So now this is like this vintage camera, or this old camera, old school camera, can be now be digitized. So what I do now is like I'll just take this digital back, so it can be mounted here. So to see it's fully functional, I had to put into a proper rail. This is just a rail to keep the camera intact. For like making it a smaller factor, I'll just change into a longer rail. So basically I'm going to put my macro rail into my Sinar, like by installing like this. This is now in a fully open up position, so you can see the movements more clearly. So here you can see I'm this like these are the fall raise movements for this camera in the rear standard, and here is a knob, so I can shift like horizontally, and also it can be used as a swing. And here is the tilt function, and the same thing can be done on the front side also. Let me make sure everything is tight. Yeah. So same thing goes to the front standard also. There is like a uprise which you mostly use for the architecture perspective corrections, and here is the tilt function that you use for most of the product shoots for getting everything in plane of focus, and which can be and here's the swing movement for which can also be used for most of the product shoots for creative control. And sometimes you can use, sometimes I end up in using like little tilt and a little swing, so utilizing the kind of a depth of field into your advantage. So yeah, that pretty much says it, how useful these cameras are in today. Yeah. So yeah, so the digital back also can be rotated without you taking out the digital back. You can just take the back plate where you mount the 4x5 over your digital back, can be also rotated like that. So here is a kind of a tiny lock mechanism over here, so you just have to open it up, then you take up the digital back.